Hello, everyone, and welcome to February the 18th regular Legislative Committee meeting of the Town of Vegreville. I call this meeting to order at 3:06. Okay, first I'd like to get a motion for the agenda. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. Any additions or deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Next up, I'll need a motion to adopt the minutes of our last regular Ledge meeting. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, first up, we're going to have a quarterly progress report. We're going to start with Manager Kuzmic. Go ahead, Manager.
Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. So first off, we got our Q1 update. We got our project of the fire hall ceiling fans. We are on budget, on track. Fans have been ordered. Just waiting for them to come in, and we should be able to get them installed and completed by the end of March at the latest. Next, we have our security system upgrade for the new filtration system, Public Works building, and cemetery. Again, cameras and equipment have been ordered. We're on track. Should come in a little bit under budget, and we're hoping to have these installed sometime in March.
Okay, so security systems at the cemetery?
Yeah, we had a few break-ins there, and so it's not the security, we're just putting new motion monitors and one camera there.
Okay.
Then we have our Parks Department. We got the chemical storage cabinet. That is ordered on budget. It should come in probably about $6,500 instead of the 10 grand, so we'll save a little bit of money there. Again, we're just waiting to receive it. Once it's in there, we'll install it and be ready to rumble.
Must be a pretty big cabinet.
Yeah. We're gonna make it ventilated out to the building too, which is a little bit of extra cost, so. Sprayer unit to replace the current one we have. It's been ordered. Again, it's on track. It should be here hopefully in the next week or two, and it'll be about $2,800.
Keep going.
So we have our parks open and open spaces refresh budgeted at $50,000 for the year. We haven't started that, just waiting for the weather to turn, snow to melt, and then we'll get busy on those projects. So if you guys did have any ideas of something you might want to see done around our parks, feel free to reach out and give us that heads up. So
Have you started compiling a list of what it may
Yeah.
look like?
yeah, some of the things we have, we want to hit the bridges in Pasanka Park. We want to replace some of the boards, repaint them. We'd like to do the cookhouse, put some money back into there and clean that up. It's a flower garden on North Circle Drive. We want to clean that up and make it look nicer too, so.
So the $50,000 budget is just for supplies and it's not for the labor or anything?
No.
Okay.
Just to buy our supplies. We'll do all the work ourselves, our parks. Again, if there's anything else you guys are seeing when you're in those, please feel free to bring it up and we'll look at them. I tossed up the idea of building and replacing a gazebo at Pasanka Park, that old one that fell down. So I like to put some shade up around our parks too, so there's some pieces of equipment we can buy and install all over the place, so.
Okay.
Then we have the caretaker at the social center. That we haven't started yet. It's got pretty busy couple months here. Just haven't had time to write up a contract. And I do want to rewrite the rental program and contract, include some checks prior to renting it out to people and after checking it out. So I want to put that all together before we hire a caretaker for that. But I do want to have that before the wedding season in place, so. Let's say end of March, start of May, hopefully have that finished. And then we have our parks truck. Manager Tony there did let me know that it's ordered and on track and just doesn't have an ETA date yet, so. Finally, oh, not quite finally, but then we have our triple deck mowers. Tony did let me know as well that both mowers have been ordered and they should be here by the end of April, which is perfect timing for students to start in May, so. Yeah, that is it.
Okay, so any questions on any of those projects? Okay, so where are we at with some money that was in the budget for the social center?
Social Center, we were in touch with Arctic Response. They're pretty spotty. We haven't really lined up any dates yet because we are, again, super busy till almost the start of May. So it's hard to shut that down for 2 weeks or a week to renovate the front or the back. To me personally, I think we dump a lot of money in the back kitchen first. The front of the building is still in decent enough shape to operate for a year or so more. I think some of our stoves, some of our utensils, some of our cooking supplies, pots and pans, maybe replace some new stainless steel shelving in there. That stuff should be a high priority. Obviously, the community, this social center is a staple of our community, and people aren't going to want to use it if none of the equipment, as we know, isn't working right.
So why did you need Arctic Response?
They were supposed to help with some of the painting, sanding on the inside of the dance hall and stuff. So it would save on our labor cost. They would train their people
Oh, yeah.
doing our projects.
Okay, so when it comes to prioritizing we all feel that the kitchen area is a good place to start, correct?
Yeah.
So what's the process gonna look like there, Manager Kuzmic? These is your decision, or are we gonna bring in any consultants? Let's say some local caterers or some people that have used the facility for,
I would definitely like to reach out to them. I do have an equipment guy coming in the next week or two to look at all of our equipment and prioritize if it can be repaired, if it's worth repairing, or do we want to spend big money to replace it. But I really like the idea of bringing our local people in and seeing what, they're the ones that use it. So why not get their opinion, and then they can take some ownership of that project as well.
go ahead, Councillor Curtis.
Thank you. I remember in a few meetings ago, we talked about the lights. Is that part of this as well?
So we did do the lights at the start of this year. We did have the date of the 21st for their Ukrainian dance club. That was completed, done, and finished. So.
Excellent.
Yeah, but it'd be nice to have that, the new caretaker in on, and this as we're moving forward too, because again, as we've seen this weekend, some of the stuff that we've used for the last stainless steel trays, that certain size that we use quite a bit, the pancake breakfast no longer exist in the facility.
Yeah, and that's part of us getting a checklist together, engraving our new products, so we know what we have there before we rent it. We'll do a walkthrough with the renter, and one at the end before we release their damage deposit. So contract has to be done first, just so everything seems to work well. So.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Borwell.
Yeah, I guess I would just say part of the reason that the mayor is bringing up also about the local contractors is, and this was predating to you, but we have seen work done with some very good intention to improve a space, but it was taken on by somebody on their own without speaking with, and what we ended up with was a facility that every renter that would come in with it said wasn't usable. So we certainly don't want to see that happen, but I'm just saying from my perspective of what I've heard, honestly, nobody's come to me and even complained when it came to the dance space or dance floor or anything like that. It's 100% on the kitchen, and maybe some work and stuff that we might look at in our washroom facilities as well. Primarily, if something isn't there and hasn't been used, take it out, stop having empty dispenser things on. But that kitchen is what we hear, or I hear from every time. It's always focused on the kitchen. So that's where my hope is it goes.
Mine too. I hear that a lot, said it's not very user-friendly. So it is something that we do have to consult with people that are going to use it and make that happen. I really don't want to waste taxpayers' money, so.
Well, and again, I think our motive at budget was this was something that needs to start, and it needs to be repeated year after year after year with some sort of a plan in place that how do we bring that facility up to where it should be. I mean, it's been neglected, and without having a caretaker there to watch what's going on all the time, and you know, it's something that's not replaceable with our budget restrictions right now, so we need to update it and bring it back to, you know, some of the, you know, it was a very very proud facility in this community for a long time, and we just need to keep this on track, so. So whatever you're doing, keep us apprised to how it's going, and, you know, we don't want to be making decisions, but we want to make sure that we're spending money the right way, not backwards, so.
100% agree.
Any other questions for Manager Kuzma? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Next up, Protective Services, Manager Newton.
I'm donating you guys some new oven mitts, though, because those aren't good anymore.
Yeah, well,
I tried and grabbed one pad and I could actually feel it through there, and I was like, holy God.
well, two of those black ones belonged to council. We took them with us and brought them home yesterday. Okay, Manager Newton.
Thank you, Your Worship. Today's topic is the Contractor Safety Management Policy. The Town of Vegreville's OH&S 5003 Contractor Safety Management Policy was scheduled for review and required some changes to ensure compliance with the OH&S Code Act, excuse me, OHS Code Act and the regulations. This policy was reviewed by all managers of all levels, along with our internal health and safety auditor, to ensure the Town of Vegreville guidelines and mandates of OH&S legislation are implemented. Council was provided a copy of the proposed amended policy and the new contractor health and safety package at the Legislative Services Committee meeting held on February 4th. Subsequently, administration provided a copy of the current OH&S policy for review and comparison. This policy is being brought forward again for council's review and discussion. Financial implications. There are no immediate financial impacts involved in the adopting of the draft OH&S 5003 Contractor Safety Management Policy. Ensuring compliance with this policy mitigates the risk and maintains our core standard, lowering WCB rates. Once approved, the updated policy will be shared on the town website with the Contractor Health and Safety Package, having a landing page in the Opportunities tab for quick access to applicants. And a renewal reminders will be provided to businesses via the ECDev newsletter and included in the business license renewal notices. Managers and directors will be expected to communicate the updated policy to their employees and provide applicant contractors with all required information. Your options today, Council, are Town Council may accept the proposed amendments to the Contractor Safety Management Policy and approve the updated policy at the next Council meeting, or Town Council may recommend further amendments to the policy to be presented and discussed at the next Legislative Services Committee meeting on March 4th, or Town Council may adopt to make no changes of our current policy, and administration will update the review date to be passed at the next council meeting.
Okay, so you want to just go through a couple of the changes that have been made? Have there been changes?
There has been a few, Your Worship. I didn't bring the policy with me on my handout, but some of the changes are to reflect the OH&S policies and standards that we're trying to adopt to make sure that we are compliant with the current legislation, Your Worship.
Okay, well, I think we've all gone through it. I just wanted to maybe highlight some of the changes. What are your guys' thoughts when it comes to options 1, 2, and 3? Councilor Bullock, go ahead.
When I went through everything, and thanks for providing all the information and the work that went into it, it's very good to read and go through it, and it's understandable. I actually think it's actually pretty good, and we're protecting ourselves and what we should be doing. So I don't have a problem with the way it's set up to go through at this point.
And I just want to echo that's a reflection of the administration and the Legislative Services Department providing you with that information as well. They've been doing a great job in helping us out.
Okay, so is everybody okay with option 1? Okay, I guess we'll see you Monday night then. Excellent. Next up, workplace visitor safety management.
Thank you, Your Worship. Me again. As part of the town regular policy review schedule, administration has reviewed OH&S 5006 Workplace Visitor Safety Policy and is presenting the attached draft for council review. Amendments to this policy focus on the compliance with OH&S regulation, again, simplifying the implementation and ensuring while safety is a priority, that attending meetings and businesses with the town facilities will be a welcoming experience. This policy will also apply to visitors within town facilities. Visitors entering restricted areas must sign in and out, review our visitor safety orientation, and wear a visitor pass when unaccompanied by an employee. This policy does not apply to contractors, vendors, or suppliers. While they're still obliged to sign in and out while working in town facilities, contractors, vendors, and/or suppliers must adhere to the contractor safety management policy. A few sections have been added or removed from the previous policy as they are addressed in other town policies. For example, Section 12, recording directors have been removed. Any concerns regarding recording devices within town facilities will be addressed in the town social media policy and new community engagement policy, currently in draft. The new policy has included the ongoing issues with a visitor may result in a facility ban in accordance with the town's full facility ban policy. There are no immediate financial impacts involved with adopting the draft workplace visitor safety policy. Ensuring compliance with this policy mitigates risk and maintains our current core standard, lowering, again, WCB rates. If approved, the updated policy will be available on the town's website. Senior management team will be responsible for ensuring compliance with their respective departments. Updated visitor sign-in forms, visitor safety orientation templates, and visitor passes will be distributed to each department. Your options are today, Your Worship, the Town Council may approve the proposed amendments in the Workplace Visitor Safety Management Policy at the next regular council meeting. Town Council opts to review and discuss proposed amendments further at the next Legislative Services Committee meeting, or Town Council adopts to make no changes to current policy.
Thank you. Okay, any comments? Councillor Bullock, go ahead.
Just a clarifying question. So does this change anything at the landfill when they come in and sign in? Is there anything different that's gonna happen there, or just continue on?
The landfill would be a separate policy. The landfill is more, it's not visiting the facility, they're using the facility, right? So you're signing in to making sure that the people that are coming in leave and that they're following the direction from the landfill operator. If I can refer more to Director Lefebvre regarding that, but nothing to do with it. It'd be more or less if a visitor or an employee comes to the landfill, they would have different orientation.
Okay, thank you.
So 10.5 for visitors. Terminated employees who are not in good standing with the town may be denied approval to enter town-owned facilities. So someone that's on a bit of a tour or a visitor, if they work for the town and were fired, then we're saying that it would be up to who to determine?
Be up to the department manager. You might have still a good friendly relationship with that person after the fact. You know, firefighter, for example, may been a town employee, been let go from the town, but wants to come by and visit the fire department afterwards, say hello. That'd be up to the individual department manager, for example, to allow them access. There's a number of possibilities that could range from that, but more or less, you know, retired employees do come and visit on a regular basis. It's no different than possibly a terminated employee, but in most cases, it'll be up to the department manager. I have my thoughts and recommendations on that, but I'm not going to share them today.
So each manager will determine who's in good standing to enter the facility as a visitor.
Yes, sir, unless otherwise stated. If the, obviously the CAO has the ultimate say at the end, and they can make that determination as well prior to. A lot of that is communicated through when somebody has been terminated and what the procedures are if we encounter that employee, and moving forward from there.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Warwell.
I'm not sure if this will go to you, manager, or to CEO Ling. If I understand there's only certain disclosures that we would make about an employee's termination, but if somebody was theoretically terminated and the decision was that there would be a facility ban, what would be the process of that for informing the managers? Is that something that would go out to them? I know this is very far off. There's not a lot of times this would be a thing, but I'm just wondering how that would go, just to see whether it falls in line with this.
It would follow the full facility ban policy as well, whether or not, because technically a previous employee is no longer an employee, no matter what whether they were terminated or they retired or they left on their own accord. So it'd follow the full facility ban policy, and there's steps to get there. But once we start along the veins of banning from our facilities, there is full consultation with our managers, so they are aware, because it starts with a singular facility ban, and then we make sure that it doesn't evolve into needing a full facility ban by making sure the other managers in other facilities are aware that this is what's happened, and if this person wants to escalate it, odds are they will do so at another facility.
Perfect. Yeah, that answers. I just didn't know if it would fall into there. And then my follow-up question to that is, this is a hard definition to ask for, but I'm just kind of wondering, like, what defines if somebody is visiting, say in some of our facilities, so say our aquatic center, because that's an easier one. I mean, people are coming in for usage of the aquatic center, and technically they're in the building. I don't know if they become an actual user until they pay and go in. So I'm just wondering at what point how we would decide that.
The majority of visitors will be determined if they're going past our security checkpoints or our security doors, glass, whatever we have in place to protect our employees. For example, a previous employee is coming up to have coffee with the admin staff. They would be let in beyond the security door. They would be given a visitor badge. And while we know they're visiting, having coffee, etc., if there was anything ever to happen, i.e. a fire alarm or something like that went off, the visitor badge would make them noticeable to IP&D, FCSS, other people in the building that, yes, they need to be accounted for in our muster point count, but they aren't an employee. And regarding the aquatic center and stuff like that, most patrons and stuff like that don't go beyond those security doors. Yeah.
That's perfect. Thanks.
Go ahead, Councillor Curtis.
Thank you very much. So just another example would be like our our VTAB meetings. Should we be, when members at large come in, are they supposed to get a visitor badge? Are they supposed to sign in? We're here at 5:30 till 7. How does it work in those instances?
They'd be signing in your meetings, and that's how you would know. Because they are only accessing, like, we'll take FCSS, for example, because their boardroom's actually beyond their secured door. When they go in that room, they should be signing into their meeting that they are there, and that sign-in sheet is what goes with when you go out to your muster point, so then they're accounted for. And of course, you know, when everybody leaves, that everybody's left the building, right?
So the policy states that if somebody is a visitor to one of our facilities, they'd be wearing a badge that says visitor, unless they are a contractor or somebody that is supplying us with another service.
Yes, that's correct, because then they would fall under the contractor policy.
And they're not, boards, meetings do not apply in the visitor, what do we call it, the visitor safety management policy.
No, but they would be required to sign in, just that we have accounted for them in the building, your worship. If they would have to go into a secured area by themselves, then they would have to wear that visitor badge. But in boardroom meetings, we usually have a staff member with them at all times. It would just be beyond that if they had to use a secured washroom upstairs, for example, to use that. But it's more or less for a head count at the end of the day to make sure that we have everybody accounted for in the event of an emergency.
So, is it our current practice today, when somebody enters the building as a visitor, any of our facilities, they are signed in and given a visitor tag to be visible when they're inside our facilities? Are we currently in that right now?
Not right now, no. They are supposed to be signing in, but they are not given a visitor tag.
Okay, so this will be up to each manager or whoever's in charge of whatever facility to implement this program. Okay, Councilor Berry.
Thank you, Worship. I guess I would just ask the question, if somebody walks in here to an open meeting of council, are they a visitor to a facility?
No,
They're not really beyond a secure door, right?
No, they're not beyond a secure door, and it's a public space. They are no different than a patron at the arena watching their grandchild play hockey.
Good point.
Okay, so we have three options. Option one is that it stays the way the policy is put together right now, and we go ahead and approve it on Monday, or that we make recommendations back, or we leave the old policy in place. So, Counselor Lemko, you would like to go with number one. Is there anybody that wouldn't want to go with option one? Okay, it looks like we're gonna see that on Monday too.
Maybe not. Okay,
What?
sorry. I'm still a little bit torn. I don't like policies that allow different buildings and different departments to have different roles. So I have no problem with coming on Monday, but I have to potentially think about whether I will support it. That's all I would say.
Okay, so the option two would be to make changes.
Yeah.
What changes would you like to see?
Well, I would just like to be that there is a standardized regulation. Now, I know there always has to be some common sense because each building looks a little bit different, but I don't want us to say that in one case, a manager can be like, you know what, just write it down on here, and everyone else has to go check out actual visitors tags. I'd like it to be that whatever does come across, there's at least a minimum that is applied across the board. Just so that the buildings aren't all different. That's the only thing. And maybe that's just in policy. Maybe that doesn't even have to be in this, in the actual.
Thank you, Councillor Aurora. Most of the changes that are in there that reflect the main policy. You have to follow the main policy, right? When it comes to each individual building, the manager will make the determination, but the one thing that is important is everybody is signing in. That's going to be across the board. That's going to be in secured meetings and when we're, staff have to take responsibility for people. In regards to Councillor Berry's and Councillor Bullock and yourself there, patrons are different than from each facility, right? They will follow still the direction of staff when there is an emergency. They will make sure that people are getting out to proper muster points. We're not going to have 500 people that are watching a hockey game sign in, right? But they are going to make sure that the building is swept and everybody is out of the building, right? This is just to make sure that the people that are visiting our facilities past the secure point are accounted for, and they follow the, basically when you go to a meeting, here's your muster point, here's the washrooms, that's basically your orientation in most cases, right? We're just making sure that's standard across the board for each facility.
Okay, so it looks like we're gonna see this on Monday, and if you need any more clarity on the policy itself, we'll bring it up then. Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, we have Director Lefebvre.
Thank you, Worship. Today is the topic of the memo is Subdivision Development Appeal Board member. The proposal is to remove one member of the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board, public at large, and appoint one new member from public at large. The background is due to circumstances. A current board member is no longer able to continue as a member of the SDAB as per bylaw number 01/2019. Municipalities must ensure that the SDAB shall consist of 6 members and 1 alternate, being 1 elected official. 5 members shall be appointed from the public at large and 1 alternate elected official. Vegreville resident Wayne Lillies has been a resident of Vegreville since 2012 and has been a member of the Vegreville Fire Department since 2022. Infrastructure Planning and Development is confident that his passion and dedication to our community will be a valuable addition to the Subdivision Development Appeal Board. Your options are Town Council to remove the previous public at large member and appoint Wayne Lillies as the new member from the public at large. And option 2, Council to deny the request.
Okay, so we'll see this on Monday.
You will see this on Monday.
Any questions, comments? Has the member at large that will be removed been notified?
They notified us.
Okay. Excellent. And the decision was made by Infrastructure Planning and Development. Is it something that we send out? Do we go public with this, or just the recommendation came from your department?
There's no requirement to reach out like that if you have someone suitable.
Okay. Everybody understands? Any comments? Okay, I guess we'll see that on Monday. Thank you. Next up.
Next up, Your Worship, is the Land Use Committee has made recommendation to council for changes to the Land Use Bylaw 11/2019. The proposal is to have Town Council consider Land Use Committee's recommendation of rezoning the following, see attached. A, rezone Lot 3 to 9, Block 66, the plan number, and Lot number 27 to 33, Block 65, and Plan 162, 1368 from single detached residential district as R1 to a medium density residential district R3. And B, rezone Lot 13, Block S, Plan 8020134 from Highway Commercial District C3 designation to High Density Residential District R4. The Land Use Committee gathered on February 10th, 2025 to discuss the proposed rezoning within the town of Vegreville. The Land Use Committee recommends moving forward with the proposed rezoning process to create areas within town that promote a higher density and more affordable housing options for residents of Vegreville. Communication strategy is after successful first reading. Advertising will be set for 2 consecutive weeks online and in the local newspaper. A public hearing will then be scheduled for March 24th of 2025, with the opportunity for second and third reading to be held at the March 24th regular council meeting. The options are to review proposed changes to bylaw and move forward with the process, or again, to review and deny and provide reasons why. So
Okay.
if you go to the attachments, if everyone's familiar.
So just so everybody knows where this is at, is if you look at the attachments, and this is on 55th Street in Foxview, going south on 55th Street, which will be developed. So lots 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, and 33 will now come from a zoning of R1 to R3. And then the next piece of property that is going from a highway commercial R3 to an R4 is the land that's directly behind the Superlube and Dr. Fisher's office on 49th Avenue. Right now, it is in a parking type situation for some big trucks and stuff like that. And the new zoning would allow the R4, which would be an apartment building. Any comments? Okay, so this will be coming to Monday's meeting,
That is correct.
and then we'll have first reading,
That's correct.
and then we'll go to the public after that.
It'll be a 2-week advertising period, and then there'll be a public hearing on March 24th.
Okay. Okay. If there's no more comments, thank you very much. Thank you, Director Saskew. Let's see, Director Saskew has nothing in there yet, but we will get to you as we move down. We are going to go to councilors to hear what they've been hearing on the street lately, and we're going to start with Councilor Curtis.
Thank you very much. Nothing crazy for me. I haven't had anybody reach out yet, but was talked to some people at the Family Day breakfast as we served some breakfast there, and we had over 400 and some people show up, even though it was super cold. So it was nice to see everybody out. Everybody enjoyed the live music and the breakfast, and it was nice to get to talk to some of the constituents. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Warba.
All right, I don't have many. I did get an outreach from somebody from minor hockey that had watched our meeting and had heard some of the concerns with ice. So I had followed back up because they did send me a direct email on it and just sort of shared that, I would be willing to get together and discuss just from some past experience, but also then shared the importance of us figuring out some of our ice allocations, and why there have been struggles, especially as we advocate forward towards recreation facilities. So I will let everyone know if they do want to do that. But in one of the things in the email that I just want to bring forward is they did mention that they had reached out to Manager Kuzmic, and I think they may have CC'd CO Ling. I'm not sure if they did, but if we can just have somebody take a look to see that communications that came in, because they had indicated that they had reached out to be able to have some discussions about ice. So I think it might be really important to have Manager Kuzmic reach out to them and say, that when could we have a sit down? When can we talk about best practices? Because some things may be issues on their side, which isn't ours to create, but it might be some things they might bring to us that they have concerns about, say when they're told to let go of ice, for example, or other things. So I think it definitely warrants that conversation and things to get fixed up before we head into the next year. And I'll also let you guys know whether I have a further discussion with them just on that. So I just wanted to mention that one. The other one was just a little bit about our breakfast, and I think it was really great. I'm happily surprised by how many people showed up given the weather. And I guess one of the things we just push forward is that I know we have a big changeover from the time that we try to clear out and then the concession comes in. But I think just maybe a planning note for us to pass in future years. I know it was unfortunate that the Junior B game couldn't go on just outside the doors, but maybe one of the things will be futures of considering some way to have some additional items within the hall itself, just for the concession, because they're in there and there wasn't much to drive people back into that concession. Of course, there was the different musical during the day, which is wonderful, and some face painting, but potentially if there was some other thing that we could entice to come into some part of the building, maybe it'd be a way of guaranteeing them a little bit more. But unfortunately, it was a little bit of a perfect storm of the not having anyone who would have walked in from the game as well. So I know when we were leaving, I did walk over to the aquatic center and ran into some arena staff and just tried to tell them, if you're seeing people, tell them to head over because there's a concession. But maybe that's something, or maybe part of it we could do or suggest to the people running it that they do sandwich boards somewhere along the way, but just something to help drive that in, because it's a lot of work to run a concession. So there's that. And then the last one was one that I've heard very good things before. I just want to pass this to admin about some of the way we keep our cemetery, but I actually had a bit of a personal experience that I was meaning to bring forward that I think is quite nice to know. I mean, it's a place that you want to see a lot of respect, and I think Vegreville does a pretty good job of having a very nice cemetery that is accessible all the time, which is something that I actually was there on Monday, and the roads are very open, and there's very few times that we'd go in there that there hasn't been real attention paid to it. But in my personal scenario was with the columbariums, we have a family member who was placed on columbarium, and I assumed at the time that some of the setup that was done was actually done by the funeral home, only to find out that it was actually done by our own staff. That they're the ones that come in, even for columbariums, and place the curtain across. They place a table. They had a little bit of a flowers set on it, and I think that that's very nice. And I think that's taking an extra step, and it adds dignity and respect for the people. So I just want to pass that as a thing forward.
Okay, so the letter from minor hockey regarding some of the ice time issues that you had brought forward.
Yeah.
And I actually commented on at two meetings.
Yeah.
Was CC'd CAO Ling and myself, and my recommendation is that we get together and sit down. And if minor hockey feels that maybe they weren't represented very well on the amount of ice that is not being used, that we should all sit down and have a very open discussion about it. So hopefully we're going to be able to see that. I know that there is some open ice coming up here right away, and there's going to be a tournament held in Mundare. And again, not sure understanding why this is happening, but I don't want minor hockey to think that we're just picking on them for no apparent reason. But if there is weekends that we're having Vegreville tournaments out of town and there's no ice users here. This is what we need to get to the bottom of.
Maybe just one more. I've really studied a whole bunch of the stuff from the information that came in, and I think that conversation is the biggest thing, but also just talking about with them and other groups. This isn't a them versus a town scenario. This is that things may have changed from the way they get to schedule their ice, which I know is an absolute problem and factor that they don't have control over. A league that they were in before did your ice scheduling based upon blocks that were handed to them. Now they have to schedule their own each level, and there may be some problems then that could be avoided back on our side. Like maybe some of our regulations back are that we turn ice back over by a set date, and maybe that's not allowing them enough time. But I think those are the sit-down conversations that need to have. In just the little reply back, I said, for me, my question would be what has changed? So what has changed over the time from, and the little points that I brought up were just that is it just from the way that happens that, the scheduling's harder? Or my wonder is, at one time, we had 13 teams, 13 full teams that also had a junior B team. At the time of the 13 teams, the 5 things that I would identify that were different is your initiation teams, they played on full ice, and from Christmas on, they had an actual schedule. Your next level that used to be called novice, I'm sorry, they've got the new names and I might have the wrong years, but your next level of novice, at that time was full schedules on full ice. So if anything, we should be way easier to get into. The new league that we're in doesn't start till a little bit later. So again, less ice. And then another major change came from Hockey Alberta itself, and it was when Hockey Alberta changed the way the provincial playdowns go down. So provincial playdowns used to be based upon your size, of course, as you know, and you had to play through, you had to win your way there. Where now, if you win your league in your level, you automatically become that provincial representative. So that actually cuts out a ton of games. So the point is, those are the conversations that we need to have. That doesn't mean they're doing something wrong because we're saying, oh, there's way less. Let's figure out what's changed and is there a better way to do it? Because some of the less ice we might be seeing might be because of that. Maybe that's part of the reason we're seeing less ice used and the changes and adjustments haven't been made. So I just think that there is a big conversation to be made, because if we were able to accommodate all of those, and now we have multiple less teams with lesser timeline and half ice and certain levels that don't play, we shouldn't be in a ice problem. So I think a good conversation is warranted. Also, I think that there's a great new group that's there with minor hockey that is young and new people with that. And that's wonderful, because that's what you need to carry it on. But then sometimes what gets lost in those things is like, what was it like before and why did this work or not work? So we might find that they need something different from us.
Well, I know that over the history, when there was tournaments, no matter what level, there was ice time traded. There was maybe a game or two canceled or made up, and the tournaments were played in town, not out of town. So I would, through CAO Ling, I would like to set something up with minor hockey before this year's over. We can go through their schedule, the ice that was open, the tournaments that were held out of town, and how we're gonna address this moving forward. And it's not like I'm not saying this is anybody's fault, but we have identified a few things and we're not happy. And then we gotta receive a letter saying that what we're saying isn't probably 100% accurate. Let's just try to identify where the problem is. So next year, we can address this, having ice setting here available and having local teams host their tournaments out of town.
Well, and the other part to that too is we have some asks from other user groups that have come in. Well, we can't really address those other asks till because right now for the next, we might be looking towards a new facility, which is always in the back of our mind as part of our, let's figure out what we do use and don't use so we know what a new facility might look like. But we all know that a new facility isn't up and running next year. So for the next 5 years is probably fair to say, this is the building that we're in. So what's the best way we can use this building over the next 5 years? And we've had other user groups ask for other things, and we kind of one-off have to say yes or no at the time, but we should have all the data in front of us to know exactly what's in that building on what days, and that I think would help us say yes or no to these other groups as well, because we've committed to another group to have a discussion at the end of the year, potentially around, what they could expect for the following year, and we can't really do that unless we have this conversation.
Exactly. So, I mean, we know that, looking at a new facility, phase one would not include new ice surfaces. Phase two would, and even phase one is down the road a bit.
Yep.
So we need to get the most out of our facility as we possibly can. And we need to have conversations with all the ice users. And we need to look at, again, we're less teams than we've ever seen. And we need to find some other users, for the ice. So we need to have that conversation before this year's over, so that this schedule is still fresh in everybody's mind. And I can tell you right now that, Councilor Warwell and myself are really looking forward to being on this, in this conversation, so.
You know what? I'm laughing, but I do look forward to it because to me, there is no better place for these kids than to be on the ice, whether they're playing hockey, whether they're figure skating, the best memories that I've had. So anything we can do to make our ice surface better. So while I can be critical, as you guys also know, I can be the biggest champion of all things hockey. So yes, I would love that opportunity.
And again, it needs to be a win-win on both sides.
Yes.
That our facility is being used to the fullest, and if we're hosting tournaments, we'll do everything we possibly can to host them in our community to help support the businesses that are here. Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Worship.
Councillor Barry, no glasses now. He's had his eyes checked and done, and now he's...
I will probably need glasses, but I gotta wait one more week to get them tested to see. I'm gonna need some reading glasses. But anyway, actually, I haven't really got anything. The only complaints I've heard about is how cold it is. And I try to complain or say to them, I can't do anything about that.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Councillor Bullock.
Thank you. I'm just trying to follow up the Hanson conversation over there, Hanson brother conversation. But anyways, I don't really have much aside, I just, about the sidewalks in town and everything. I actually seen the bylaw officer out and about stopping in front of certain places that haven't cleared their sidewalks. So just a plea out to the community to just keep on keeping on and shovel up your sidewalks and make it a little bit easier for anybody who's walking. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rudick.
Sorry that I was late from work. I've had a couple conversations last week when I was at a conference, some federal elected officials that are interested to see where our progress on our Prosperity Park is. So they are interested in attending our grand opening when it shall occur. And I said we would be happy to invite whomever. Also had some conversation about some of the housing funding for smaller communities, that it continues to get eaten up by larger centers. Not that they don't deserve housing too, but it's additionally difficult in smaller communities to be able to make the pitch through the funding rounds, as we've been doing with MD Minburn Foundation, that some of the housing funds are extremely challenging. I see that there's a letter from Alberta Munis. I was going to share this as well.
We can't talk about that.
Right. So, okay, we won't talk about that in public, okay? Because we had a few conversations about some of the things that are coming out from the province in the upcoming spring session. So the legislature resumes next week, and there won't be a ton of impact for municipal, but I think some of you folks might have heard some of the things at Brownlee last week. There are some changes that are going to be made into the MGA, some things that weren't anticipated in the last rounds of Bill 18, 19, 20, the fantastic pieces of legislation that they were. So there's going to be some adjustments because they had some things that they didn't anticipate. I've also had some questions from people that are interested in running in our next election locally. So I've had questions from those that are interested in running, those that are interested in running the elections, and then also the question about the postmortem report that was written about the last election. And I don't know that this council ever heard that report. So I think it was submitted to CAO's office previously, not to you. So there were some recommendations about how better to deliver the actual election day offerings, and I said we had not received it, so. Okay, that's what I thought. Anyways, some people are thinking about elections.
When you say post-mortem, that doesn't sound thrilling. Yes.
Well, sometimes elections can be very
Yeah.
serious. And then also just a thank you to all of those that were involved in organizing Family Day events yesterday. I always love the opportunity to be able to see different people that we don't usually see. And I'd really like to find an opportunity for this council to find a way to reach out to the community in the next little while. I'm really happy to see how many of you are able to attend the CAL's AGM tomorrow. I think the more opportunity that we have to engage with the public is really positive, and whatever we can do over the next few months to do that, I'd like to find opportunities to do that. So thank you again to FCSS and all of their partners for making Family Day such a resounding success, even though it was super cold.
Thank you. Councillor Lemko.
Thanks, Your Worship. Thanks to all the citizens of Vegreville and surrounding area for showing up to the pancake breakfast and enjoying some of the music and that. And thanks to council members and administration for the efforts they put into preparing the food that we so graciously. Anyway, I have one topic I'd like to bring. I haven't been reached out by any local businesses or people to talk about anything other than I have one item. It's the plight of our Ukrainian. I know our committee is slowly winding down as there's not any people coming from abroad, but those who have arrived here are in cities, and the challenges they're having right now is the fact that things aren't good for a lot of them. It's a tough without the language and work and all those challenges. So the Calgary Calgary Catholic Service Agency is looking to move Ukrainian families that are having difficult time adjusting to rural locations where they're better apt to be successful. We have a family in Calgary, Ukrainian family that's been evicted from their because they can't pay their rent. We have another gentleman in Edmonton who is can't speak the language, is all alone, came here on a thought that the guy that was going to hire him was going to pick him up, and the fellow didn't get picked up. Spent 18 hours in the airport until somebody was able to help him and found a homestay for him, but that's ending now. So those are the calls that our committee is getting to reach out. So even though we're not taking in new people out there, we're hoping to help these kind of people, but that won't end. So in saying that, the war isn't over from a lot of things. So we're organized by the Stand with Ukrainian Committee on Sunday the 23rd, this Sunday at 2:30. We're having a march from the Vegreville Rendezvous Park, 50th and 50th by the gazebo. We're asking you to bring your flags, signs, battery-operated candles, something to show your assistance in creating just something to say the war isn't over. And from that, we will march to the Holy Trinity Church. At 3 o'clock, there'll be just a prayer service, and then there'll be fellowship downstairs, a little bit of a program. So we encourage the community to come out, help us out, show some support for Ukraine and the people that are displaced, and not only what's happening, but what's happening over there right now is is a tragedy, and we're not certain what's going to continue on. So, see you Sunday.
Thanks. What time is that starting?
2:30, Your Worship.
From Rendezvous Park.
Yep, that's where we'll start, and we'll just run down the street if it's cold to the church.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I want to thank everybody that was able, which was all of council and senior men and those who could show up yesterday to help out at the Family Day breakfast, and the councilors from the county of Midburn that showed up too. It was great, and I was very surprised the turnout, as cold as it was, and yeah, and if I could just relay the same message that I let everybody know there yesterday, is, you know, we see a lot of challenges in the near future in this country. So if you can, please, when you're making decisions about what you're gonna put in your shopping cart or what you're gonna be renovating your house with, please try to choose something with a Canadian flag made in Canada on it for the next while, for the next long while, to tell you the truth, because we're about to be entering in a very, very tough time in this country if the United States goes through with some of their recommendations and what they're asking for. So please try to make good decisions in purchasing. So next up, Director Highlights, and we're going to start with Director Saskew.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a bunch of stuff on the go right now, so let me see. Started with the Talk the Town on February 13th. We, myself and Councillor Curtis, were talking about the derelict and vacant property tax bylaw and policy that we had our open house for this afternoon. So from 11 until 2 p.m. we had a few people join us. Once again, reminder, if there are any questions or concerns related to that policy, to get them into vegtown@vegreville.com. Myself and Mayor McPhee will be returning to the Talk of the Town radio station on Thursday for an airing on February 25th. So we are answering any questions that come in between now and basically Thursday morning, so long as we have some time to prepare before that. The Wild & Company audit is this week, so the auditors are in-house and asking us questions, so that's been taking a lot of time. We're still working through the process of the IT changeover. I've moved to having weekly follow-up meetings with our main contacts, so as always, if there is something that is bugging you with IT, if it's not something immediate that needs a ticket, send it to me and I will discuss it at our weekly meeting. We got our post-renewal insurance meeting, so every year, January 1, our insurance renews. We have that invoice that's due for the end of March. I'm busy getting annual certificates out. They've recently launched a web portal in the last year where they said, oh, it'll be so great, your insurance renewals that you have to do. So for example, we lease this fancy treadmill at the recreation, and they need every year a new certificate of insurance. And so with this portal, they promised me that the new certificates would automatically send out. Well, guess what? The portal is down until we get our new insurance actual policy, which just came this last week. So in theory is great, but we actually don't have anything on the portal until our policy is issued in February. So hopefully in the coming years that'll get rectified, because that was it's quite slick, because you can actually set up emails and it'll auto send the email, except it won't auto send an email when there's no policy that exists in the portal. So that hopefully hiccup can come and be rectified in the future years. I've also attended the Chamber of Commerce board meeting on February 4th. They had some questions regard to insurance on some of our shared assets, so I was happy to answer those questions. Also attended Brownlee Emerging Trends on February 13th. We learned some things from that. I've actually updated a couple of our offer contracts today from things that they discussed with recent pronouncements from labor law. I am working with MPE for our GIS project regarding some of the link numbers and other things for elections. So the federal wants certain shape files coming from GIS by the end of March, or end of February, pardon me. So I've been helping out with that part of it, bringing items from our diamond that can link into the GIS from the items that they pull from land titles in the GIS system. And the one other thing I have is we had Brenda Simbolic's farewell last week. So February 14th was her last day, and we thank her for 24 and a half years of service with us. So that's really great. And that's all I've got.
Definitely her last day.
It was definitely her last day.
Yeah, definitely.
it to 25 or?
Well, been a long process for her getting to her last day. She's had some medical setbacks and some injuries, and well, we really want to thank her for her dedicated service over all these years. So.
Absolutely.
Okay, Director Lefebvre. Oh, sorry. Is there any questions for Director Sasky? Sorry. Okay, Director Lefebvre.
Thank you, Worship. I just have a couple items. The ongoing update for council for the forced main replacement and the sewer lift station. We are still on track. The project is near completion. We have a flow meter that has a remote read capability. We're waiting for that update to show up. And then some landscaping and some exterior work outside, very small stuff. So the project is almost wrapped up. The project total was 3.83 million when we started, and we are currently at 3.66 right now. Those numbers include the 10% holdback, which is about 367,000 that we have sitting there, and we have remaining about 68,000 in our contingency fund to the good side. So the project is going reasonably well. I do have one manifold on the second level that we're evaluating getting a cost to replace that, even though we had it sonar measured and it was satisfactory. We are seeing a small pin leak, so we're going to use the remaining of this contingency to replace this pipe. So when we walk out of this lift station, it's a rebuilt lift station. So that's a good report. The project's on track. And I know recently I talked to council about the Alberta CARE, that's the Coordinated Action on Recycling Enterprises. They're doing their spring conference in Camrose on March 26th, 27th, 28th. And as I'd mentioned, they've chosen the Vegreville landfill and the Vegreville recovery facility as their tour. So the busload of delegates from Camrose will be leaving here. We'll be leaving Camrose at 12:30, showing up here probably quarter to probably 1:45-ish. And we'd ask that the mayor be there for them. I have been working with Jameson Brown, our seed manager, and he has contacted Q Films Media, I believe it's called, so we can get some good footage, not just of the conference members taking in how Vegreville's VMRF operates, but we're going to go further and do processing of all that we do, the fluorescent tubes, horizontal balers, the trucks dumping, the trucks picking up, the central drop-off. It's an awesome opportunity for us to get a lot of information that we can put on our social media posts and improve our website when you go into recycling to have a lot more than what we have now. So I thank him for taking the lead on that part of it. And our lead hand, Phyllis Sarita, and Municipal Services Manager, Tony Temptation, were working together to set up, so when they come here, when they come to record, we've got this set up and want that to happen and kick the bail out and do those kind of things. So it's, like I said, if you're in the recycling or landfill biz, it's a big deal to be a part of this. So just letting you know that it is coming quicker than not.
Any questions for Director Lefebvre? We won't be serving a lunch or anything like that at this event.
No, they'll feed them in Camrose and they're coming straight here, so we will be okay. If anything, it'll be a couple cases of water.
Okay, well, hopefully any wrappers that they have in the bus or whatever, we can get them into the recycling, so it'll be good. Okay, thank you. Next up, CAO highlights. CAO Ling.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. I've been busy, but I don't really have much that I can talk about. But I do want to touch on the fact that I attended the Quad CAO meeting. We have them quarterly, and it's meeting with the county, Manville, and Innisfree CAOs, and we discuss topics that are relevant to our region. And our big discussion this last time has been around the fall election and all the changes that have been introduced into the Local Authorities Election Act last fall with Bill 18. So that was, it was a very interesting conversation about the changes that we've had to make. And then on that note, our election page on the website is up and running. You can find it at the Town of Vegreville under the Governance tab, and it's 2025 election. And all the forms are now ready, and you can print them off and submit your names to run for the fall. And that's about it.
Okay, any questions? Okay, I do want to thank Tim Hortons and all the staff over there, and Colleen and her people for donating coffee and the cups and everything again. So Monday, we're gonna be having a thank you card here, and we're all gonna sign it, and hopefully we'll deliver it over to Tim Hortons for their continued support of the Family Day breakfast after all these years, so. Okay, so coming up, we have council on Monday, and then the next day, Tuesday, at Hall B at the Social Center, Colin and the RCMB will be holding a town hall, and that starts at 7-ish, we think, 7, yeah. And then the Alberta Cares landfill, the VMRF tour. Hopefully, we got the numbers in for the AGM for the chamber, everybody that is going to be attending. Okay, sounds good. So is there any other business of council? We do have one closed session item that we need to get to, so if there's no other business of council, I'll take a motion to go into closed session. Councilor Curtis makes the motion. At 4:12, all those in favor? Carried.